we could see gold at 139,000 an
Right.
ounce. So put it into that theory. Right now at $4,000, a $20 million bond in 20 years is 5,000 ounces. At 139,000 an ounce, it's 130 ounces. Now, again, it's all hypothetical, but by letting gold go higher, you devalue the dollar to reshore manufacturing, to build out manufacturing if you have zero coupon bonds, no upfront borrowing costs. And over time, as gold goes higher, the dollar goes lower, our manufacturing starts to build and we can start to produce more than we consume. The rising price of gold speaks to the devalued dollar and makes it much easier to pay off the bond in the future.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Yeah.
I added this into what Judy said. Now you put it all together. I don't see a better way of doing this.
So that I wrote some, because again, this is all hypothetical, it's conjecture, but I basically had said, in order for it to provide meaningful protection against the rising gold price, the amount of gold will need to get established, or should get established, when the bond is issued.
Andy Schectman discusses a hypothetical framework in which a significantly higher gold price could coincide with a weaker US dollar and broader monetary restructuring. He suggests that if gold were revalued dramatically, governments could find it easier to manage debt obligations as currency values adjust over time. Schectman argues this could encourage domestic manufacturing and support long-term economic realignment, though he stresses the discussion is theoretical rather than a prediction. The conversation explores gold-backed financial concepts, sovereign debt, currency devaluation, and the potential role of precious metals in a future monetary system, while emphasizing that specific price targets remain speculative. Now we present the clips from Andy Schectman's interview. Subscribe now. Metal Moves for daily updates on precious metals, economic trends, and wealth-building opportunities. Stay ahead of the financial shift and never miss a market-moving alert.
In conjunction with the rising bond, the rising price of gold. In other words, my theory is bigger than what Judy said. My theory was that look, how do you reindustrialize this country? You know, we're 200 trillion in debt when you add the unfunded liabilities. We are uneducated. I talk about Ray Dalio saying 60% of the country has a literacy rate under the 6th grade. We don't make anything anymore, and AI is here to kneecap jobs and automation. And so what do? How do we give our children that future? The only way, first of all, because of Triffin's dilemma, that we could indeed reshore manufacturing and have any hope of selling said products to the world would be to quietly abandon the world reserve status. And that was the theory. I mean, the crux of my theory is to quietly soft default on the reserve status. This is why Richard Russell used to say to me, Andy, we consume more than we produce. Therefore, the Fed has two choices, but to inflate or die, default. But the third option, and that's where what's his name, the previous economic advisor to the Biden administration, Jared Bernstein, wrote a report to Throne King Dollar advocating that we can't be the reserve currency anymore. We've wasted the privilege, and Triffin's dilemma says that, look, the world needs more dollars than we can give them through trade alone. And the only way that they're able to have enough dollars to operate and to buy energy is to, over time, sell their currency continuously in the open market to buy dollars, creating a big discrepancy between the dollars and the other currencies. And over time, manufacturers say, well, let's send our production over there and we'll make 10x. So you end up eviscerating and hollowing out your manufacturing. And this is a big problem for us right now. We're reliant on China for everything from aspirin to aircraft parts. Can't do that. Let alone we have a generation of kids coming up where the prospect of being gainfully employed and the American dream becomes more and more out of reach every day. Prices go higher, home affordability goes higher, inflation is putting prices higher, and we haven't even begun to see the ramifications of this war where you're going to see oil-induced price inflation. We've bled down our strategic petroleum reserves to the lowest they've been in 25, 30 years or longer, maybe 40 years, to mask the effect. Prices are going to go higher. What do we do? So if you were to softly abandon the reserve status, in other words, focus more on building your economy rather than the currency,
bringing back the manufacturing.
That's how you bring back manufacturing. And how do you devalue your currency? If you devalue it against the dollar index, where currencies are continually selling their currency to buy dollars, it's a faulty measuring stick. You do it by letting gold go to the moon. As gold goes higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, the dollar goes lower and lower and lower and lower. This is where Tether came into it, and the Genius Act, where anytime money moves from January on, it will be backed by stablecoin and 90-day or less short-term treasuries, and that interest is not transferable. So Tether takes that interest and buys gold. They own more gold than anyone in the world, but the central banks bought more than China over the last 2 years. They were in trouble, right, by the Justice Department. Could it be? This is all theory. It's hypothetical. Could it be they struck a deal? I mean, we know Bo Hines was Trump's crypto czar and confidant, is now the CEO of USA Tether, the Genius Act compliant stablecoin. So what if they said, you're going to buy gold with every time money moves and you issue a stablecoin and buy treasuries, take that interest, you're going to buy gold. You're going to sell it to the treasury quietly over time. You'll all get rich. You're not in trouble anymore. And you're going to help us devalue the dollar and push gold to the moon. This is why Van Eck funds came out and said, if the dollar really did lose reserve status, we could see gold at 139,000 an ounce. So put it into that theory. Right now at $4,000, a $20 million bond in 20 years is 5,000 ounces at 139,000 an ounce, 130 ounces. Now, again, it's all hypothetical, but by letting gold go higher, you devalue the dollar to reshore manufacturing, to build out manufacturing if you have zero coupon bonds, no upfront borrowing costs. And over time, as gold goes higher, the dollar goes lower, our manufacturing starts to build and we can start to produce more than we consume. The rising price of gold speaks to the devalued dollar and makes it much easier to pay off the bond in the future. Yeah. That's my theory. Yeah. I added this into what Judy said. Now you put it all together. I don't see a better way of doing this.
So that I wrote some, because again, this is all hypothetical conjecture, but I basically had said that in order for it to provide meaningful protection against the rise in gold price, the amount of gold will need to get established or should get established when the bond is issued. For example, if gold were 5,000 an ounce when you invested $1 million, the bond would represent 200 ounces of gold. If gold later rose to 50,000, those 200 ounces would be worth 10 million. You can then choose between receiving the guaranteed million principal or redeeming the bond based on its gold value of 10 million.
You could do it either way.
So
you could do it either way.
Either way, I think at the end of the day, the outcome and the premise behind it is that gold is going to be higher 50 years down the road and the dollar will be substantially lower.
There's no question about that. There is no way that we could automatically right now cut entitlements across the board. No more welfare, no more food stamps, no more unemployment.
Impossible.
No more any of that crap, which is bleeding us dry. And then we cut Medicare benefits, slash them. And then we say mandatory, you can't retire until you're 75 and, Social Security. We're broke. And we are completely and totally broke. So, this is a bigger issue. It's, how do you do this? How do you normalize the balance sheet? And if the world sees that we're trapped, who buys the treasuries to finance the debt? We have like 15 trillion in debt that's coming due over the next 12 months. How the hell do you pay that off? How do you do so? And in a rising interest rate environment, the cost of your indebtedness goes up exponentially. We have already crossed the Ferguson line, which says when a superpower spends more on interest than on national defense, you cease to become a superpower. These are scary thoughts, but the reality of it, it's just mathematics now. And how do you get out of the math? That's why you let gold go to the moon, to devalue the dollar, peg it to a bond, and let the appreciating gold be part of the bond distribution down the road. If you knew gold was going higher in dollar terms, it's a great deal for the bondholder. Yep. It's a great deal for the U.S. government. It works out because I do believe in my soul, when you see the most well-informed traders in the world buy gold, that the way they're doing and lying about it, remember what we said? The World Gold Council said, yeah, I understand you guys bought more gold than, that being the central banks, that over the first quarter than in any first quarter in history, but you lied about it by a factor of 15. You didn't buy 16 tons, you bought 245 tons. They're lying about their acquisition for a reason. They're using the suppression of paper to accumulate. If you look at what's been bought since the beginning of the year when gold and silver got its ass handed to it, China's bought more than ever. Poland says they've used the pullbacks to buy more. They bought more than anyone but Tether, bought more than anyone, Tether, second to them.
Andy Schectman outlines a hypothetical monetary framework in which a substantially higher gold price could accompany a weaker U.S. dollar, encouraging domestic manufacturing and easing long-term debt management. He argues that persistent government debt, Reserve currency pressures and continued central bank gold accumulation may support gold's strategic role in the global financial system. Schectman also discusses theories involving gold-linked bonds and monetary restructuring, while emphasizing these ideas are speculative rather than established forecasts. The conversation highlights sovereign debt, currency dynamics, and the evolving importance of physical gold. Let's get back to the interview.
The outlook for gold remains extremely positive. It's still supported by, record central bank buying and certainly a lot of demand for the bars and coins, especially, of course, in Asia. And silver is lagged. It's the dependence on industrial demand. But I think that both of them, I believe that both of them, you get a lot of people on YouTube are saying that it could break 50, gold hits 3,500. I happen to believe that they're pretty much forming a floor, and it might break 50. I mean, it could do it. Anything's possible. But I still think that we are way closer to the bottom, certainly than we are to the top.
Well, we're getting to a point where interest rates are starting to tell a story that the Federal Reserve doesn't want to tell. The Federal Reserve came in and kept rates steady, right? But the market moved against the Federal Reserve. Normally, the market moves lockstep with the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
If the Fed lowers rates, the rates go lower on the 10-year, et cetera, the 30-year. But what we saw this time is the Fed holding rates still, yet the market moved up almost a full point against the Federal Reserve. The interest rates went up. And what's very interesting about that is normally when we see interest rates going higher, we would see the dollar go higher with it as it attracts foreign capital to a higher rate. But what we saw this time, and again, it was only over a day or two, so that doesn't make a trend. But what we saw this time is a weaker dollar as rates were going higher. That's an ominous sign. That says that the market is saying, yeah, we think inflation is a bigger deal. And perhaps we just don't trust your fiscal and monetary irresponsibility has gotten or will get any better than it already has.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the continued inflation, the rising debt, the uncertainty of the monetary policy, they all strengthen the argument for owning physical gold and silver. And this was, again, the Fed holding rates steady. And that was with three, I think, votes to increase, to raise rates. But
remember, 8 months ago, everyone was pricing in 3 or 4 rate declines.
Correct, cuts.
Yeah.
And now now I think that they're almost pricing in a rate hike in December. But
September.
Well, I think that I'm saying that could be, but I think December was the one that was like a shoe-in for at least a rate hike there. But who knows? I mean, really, at this point, who knows? We don't. We absolutely don't.
The problem is they really, they can't lower rates because inflation is already much higher than they want it to be. They haven't maintained or hit a 2% inflation rate in over 60 straight months, over 5 years. And the one thing that Warsh was adamant about was the Fed's desire to target 2% inflation. But how the hell do you get there? How do you lower interest rates in order to stimulate when inflation is already roaring roughly, double what you want it to be? You lower rates, inflation is only going to get far, far worse, and it signals to the market you'll never normalize your balance sheet. And this is the problem. And if rates go higher, it just makes the massive indebtedness where you're at, massive defaults and delinquencies rather in not only student debt but auto debt. People are up to their eyeballs right now and aren't able to handle rising interest rates.
Look, mortgage rates right now at 7%.
Almost, yeah. They're
going that's those are numbers. I mean, when you and I bought our homes, I think I'm
3.
I'm less. I'm like 2 1/4, 2 3/8.
Housing affordability is lower than it has ever been, and you're talking about the market raising rates, which is speaking louder than the Federal Reserve. The bond market is wiser than the economists at the Federal Reserve and has sniffed out the fact that they're trapped.
We don't have Z here on the question, so I'm going through this.
Tether added another 14 tons of gold in the second quarter. Their bullion holdings are now at $19 billion. They own more gold than anyone in the world but the central banks, which, as you know, is something I've been talking about for quite some time. I find it very interesting, almost as if they are running proxy for the U.S. government, accumulating it at hand's length. But it's not stopping. They've bought more gold than anyone in the last 2 years but Poland. And they're buying more than China.
And I think
That says something.
I think at this point they are listed as the top 30 holder of gold in the world.
Yeah.
And to be number 30 in a very, very short time frame since they've been basically in business till now. That's a pretty staggering stat. So
here's what I was trying
Yep.
to find. Corporate insiders are selling stock at one of the fastest rates in more than 20 years so far this month. Only 15% of companies have seen more insider buying than selling, the lowest reading in at least 21 years. So again, pay attention to what the insiders are doing, you guys. And this is the type of environment where, because of the leverage, because of the margin debt, because of the option exposure, all crammed into a handful of stocks, because of the Japanese carry trade unwinding, because you see the heads of credit resigning at Blackstone and BlackRock. All of these things should be, I think, taken into account as to where we think things are going. And, I think it's time to be defensive. And
Andy Schectman argues that gold remains supported by strong central bank purchases, robust Asian demand, and persistent inflation concerns, while silver could benefit as investment interest broadens. He suggests rising bond yields alongside a weaker U.S. dollar may reflect growing market concerns about fiscal sustainability rather than economic strength. Schectman also highlights continued physical gold accumulation by major institutions and advises investors to remain defensive amid elevated debt, inflation, and financial market uncertainty. He emphasizes that future market outcomes remain uncertain and should not be viewed as guarantees. Let us know your opinion on this analysis in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you never miss our latest updates on gold, silver, crypto, and global markets. Thanks for watching The Metal Moves. We'll see you in the next video.